Good morning. Welcome to Free Indeed Morning Moments. Glad you could join us this morning. I hope you had a great day so far. I hope you're having a great week. And I got a little bit of rain here, a little bit overcast here in Colorado. And we had some tornado warnings last night. But it's always good. God is always good. And we got church tonight, 7 o'clock. Love to see you there. And I want you to be able to be in God's house. Make that choice to be there, rain or shine, and get the blessing of God. God wants to bless us. God wants to bless you. But you got to be in a position for Him to do so. And so put yourself in that position. Be in church tonight, 7 o'clock. Love to see you. And I'm bringing to you a verse this morning, Genesis chapter 22. The Bible says in verse 2, and he said, Now take thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee to the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I shall tell thee of. And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went to the place which God had told him. And Abraham didn't think twice. And Isaac was Abraham's only son. It was the promised son. It was the promise that God gave Abraham, that He's going to make you many nations. He's going to make you people, a great people. And it was through his son, Isaac. So when God told Abraham, I want you to take your son, I want you to take him up to the land of Moriah, and to Mount Moriah, I want you to build an altar and lay him on that altar, for the purpose that he thought God was going to get him to sacrifice his son. What God was trying to do was see where Abraham was, see where Abraham's faith was, see if he was willing to make that sacrifice. The promised son that God gave Abraham, was he willing to sacrifice that for him? And the story goes, Abraham goes, he takes some servants, he leaves them at the bottom of the mountain, and takes him and his son and the donkey and some of the wood up to the mountain, builds an altar, and places Isaac on that altar, ties him down. And all this time, Isaac asking, where is the burnt sacrifice? Where is the lamb? He says, God's going to provide the lamb. Abraham decided, whatever God decides to do, if God wants my child for him, He's more than willing to have him. And God wasn't willing to hold back his son for me. Of course, the story goes that God stopped Abraham before he could kill Isaac and gave him a sacrifice, a ram caught in the thicket. And my question today would be, what would you hold back from God? Is there anything that you would say, no, I would give God anything but that? And God is looking for one that sacrifices for Him, that is willing to give up what we have for Him. If there's something in our life, there's something in your life that you say, God, you're not going to have that, that's going to be the stumbling block in your life. That's going to be the point where you said, God, I'll go as far, but that's my limit. That's where I'm going to end my service for you. That's what I'm not going to give up. God, you're going to have anything but that. And many people put but that's on there in their lives and say, God, you can take anything but that. And my friend, there should be no but that's in our life. Anything that God wants, anything that God wants us to sacrifice, we should be willing to sacrifice for Him. God will test you. God will test you and see where you are. See if you're willing to sacrifice for Him. And is there something God cannot have in your life? In order to take your relationship with God to another level, sacrifice is needed. We must be willing to sacrifice that which we love. Sacrifice that which we enjoy. This could be time. This could be food. This is why fasting is vital when it comes to a relationship with God, because we give up that which we desire. That food, that desire, that want to get to know God. We say, God, I want to get to know you more than this thing. For some people, it's friends. For some people, it's a social life. For some people, it's a job. But if there's something in our life, regardless of what it is, we ought not hold that item, that thing, back from God. I don't want there to be any but that's in my life, and there shouldn't be any but that's in your life. And if God may ask you to go somewhere in this world. God called us to Longmont, Colorado. There is no place on my list, and I told my wife this, there's no place on our list where I'll say, God, I'll go anywhere but that place. No, I'm going to go anywhere God wants me to go, because as long as He's with me, He'll take care of me. There's nothing in my life that I'll say, God, you can have everything but that thing. You can't have that thing. You can't have my kids. You can't have my life. You can't have my car. You can't have my money. No, God can have it all. If God wants my money, He can have it. If God wants my children, He can have them. If God wants my car, He can have it. If God wants my home, He can have it. If God feels the liberty to take my health, God is willing. I'm willing for God to do for God to do what is necessary. And because I know that God knows what's best, and a better relationship with Him will come out of it, because there I get to know God better. And I don't want to hold anything back from God. I don't want to force God to force things from my hand, but rather I can give it willingly. But sacrifice is needed. That with those who sacrifice, see God come through. Abraham would have never seen God in the light that he saw Him if he held back Isaac. He never saw God come through in a special way. Never saw that God had a ram already prepared. God already had a lamb before Abraham ever made the choice to obey. God said, you know what? I am going to supply this lamb if I see Abraham come through. If I see Abraham be willing to give up that which is most loved for me. And it could be for us, it could be our money. This is why tithing is important. Tithing shows God that you mean business. God, all offerings show God that you mean business. It could be our time, spending time with God. How much time do we actually spend with God? How much time are we willing to give up to get to know God? God is looking for that sacrifice. Most of the time, a couple minutes in the morning is not much of a sacrifice. But when you spend minutes and hours and days with God, you give up that which you enjoy in order to spend time and get to know God, God notices. God will never let a sacrifice go unnoticed. If it is truly a sacrifice for you, if you're giving up something, you say, God, this is what I enjoy, this is what I love, God, but I'm giving this up for you. Well, it could be, I'm giving up food for you, I'm giving up this money, I'm sacrificing of myself so that you so I can get to know you better, so I can see you come through, so I can see you do a work. And my friend, God will never disappoint. God never disappointed Abraham. God never disappointed those in His word that gave up for Him, that sacrificed for Him, that were willing to do what was necessary to see God come through. Don't let there be but that in your life. Take out the but that's. Say, God, you can have anything. You can have anything, everything. You want it, I'll give it to you. I'll sacrifice whatever needs to be sacrificed. My friend, God doesn't let it go unnoticed. God will come through. You got to put down the faith. You got to put down the sacrifice. You got to say, God, I'm willing to trust you. That's the same thing with salvation. God, I'm willing to trust you with my salvation. And I'm putting my faith and trust in you. God never disappoints. God will always, always, always come through. Again, I'll say it again. I'll say it to the day I die. God will never let a sacrifice that you give go unnoticed. Well, I hope that's a blessing. I hope that's a help to you this morning. If I can be a help or a blessing to you, please let me know. Love to see you tonight, 7 o'clock. You need a ride, please let me know. We can pick you up, drop you off, and we'll take care of it. But have a great day, and God bless.